Greetings and welcome back to another lesson here as we wrap up this little mini-series on stock control. As I'd mentioned several times over the past couple lessons, this one is going to be focusing all on product manufacturing, getting into some advanced components of this feature set that we did not cover in the last lesson when we looked at internal stock movements. So as we take a closer look at it this time around, we will run through a quick overview to give you a refresher of what manufacturing products in BPOS means, but we'll also look into how manufactured products should be set up for the manufacturing process itself, something that we haven't gotten into yet. And then we'll go through a couple different manufacturing demos, which will also include auto-manufactured products, another advanced topic that I believe we've touched on briefly in the past, but haven't gotten into too much detail with just yet. So, quick recap here, but I'll explain product manufacturing in a bit more depth also. From the internal stock movement session, you might remember that manufactured products are products that are not purchased from suppliers, but rather are made from ingredient products that are purchased from suppliers. Some examples are things like house-made baked goods, scratch-made sauces, pre-made items that are placed in a grab-and-go case, so on and so forth. There are other uses for manufacturing, but those are some of the more common ones. We even do have some breweries that use our manufacturing component for brewing beer. You might also remember that when the procedure of manufacturing products is processed in the system, that is when the system decrements the ingredient product quantities from stock and creates stock on hand for the manufactured product. That way all stock levels are going to be accounted for and they'll be updated accurately when the manufacturing process takes place. So if we imagine that we are making a batch of cakes, and this won't be an actual recipe here, but bear with me. Let's say that we're making some cakes. The ingredients for each one are 200 grams of flour, 2 eggs, 50 grams of butter, 100 mils of milk, some oil, sugar, so on and so forth, whatever else we're putting into these cakes. And let's say we're making a batch of 10 of these. So when they're manufactured in the system, 200 grams of flour times 10, 2 eggs times 10, 50 grams of butter times 10, etc., are going to be deducted from stock on hand levels, and the cake's stock on hand is going to be increased by 10. So it's a bit of a transfer of quantities here. Then, since we'd have stock on hand for the cakes, we could sell them without their quantity on hand going negative. We can count them for a stock take. We can transfer them, spoil them, adjust the quantities if need be, so on and so forth. All the things that we can normally do with a stocked product, we can do with a manufactured product after it's been manufactured and we have a positive quantity for it. So even understanding what manufacturing is, though, you may be wondering why use manufacturing at all. Or you can probably guess after that explanation, but the answer is simple, really, and I indicated this a minute ago, is that manufacturing is used as a stock control method. It's easy to understand the market need in the real world that as stocked products are converted or combined with other stocked products to create something else, a new product, there needs to be a method to cater for that in a stock control system. If we continue with that cake example, that after those cakes are baked, it would be pretty difficult, or at least much more time consuming, to try to get an accurate stock count for the individual ingredient products that went into making those cakes. Particularly with this example of this manufacturing example, the recipe is going to be for a full cake, but if it's then cut into slices, what quantity of each ingredient is there per slice? So who wants to calculate that during, a stock take or a transfer, or if a slice needs to be entered as a loss or something like that? So the manufacturing procedure is going to simplify that for us, make it much more efficient, streamlined to conduct other internal stock movements also after we have manufactured these products. So instead of calculating and then transferring or spoiling flour, sugar, eggs, so on and so forth, it is going to be a lot easier to transfer or spoil the cakes themselves or portions of the cake. And as I mentioned last time, it's also ideal to manufacture products in the system as they are being manufactured in real life. That way, the quantities on hand in the system will remain accurate. Now, how to manufacture. In the internal stock movements lesson, we ran through a brief demo, but we will be running through some additional demos in a bit here, where you'll see that we have a few different options for the procedure itself. But before we get to the actual processes involved, it's also important to consider that manufacturing is done at the store level. Now that might be obvious given that it involves stock, which of course we know is counted and controlled at the store level. But the reason that I bring this up now is that before actually beginning the manufacturing process, it should be determined what the end goal is, or the organization's standard operating procedure. Are the manufactured products going to be used only within the store where they're being created, or are they going to be manufactured in one store and then transferred out from there? And then we've got the process itself, which again can be done either from back office or from SmartPaws, and we'll get more into those a bit later. But what we will do first is actually get into back office, and we'll quickly go through the system-wide setups that are involved and necessary for manufacturing. Alright, so first things first, we saw this last time, but as a reminder, for an organization to use manufacturing, there is a flag in global settings that is called Use Manufacturing. That just needs to be on. It is here on the Flags tab in this Purchasing Options section, and it is simply called Use Manufacturing. If it is turned off, the manufacturing component will not be available from the stock control menu, and manufacturing will not be able to be processed from SmartPaws either. Along with that, there is also an operator flag. I'll just open any operator here, and that is going to be on the stock control tab. Of course, it's in the general stock control, or the general stock settings section, and it is called manufacturing functions. So that will need to be on for any operator that needs to manufacture from back office or from SmartPaws. Then of course we have the manufactured products themselves. So another quick reminder that here in No Hats, No Stars, we've got several stores in our single venue here, one of them being our production kitchen, which is used to supply prepped food to the other stores. But in the product list here, we do have a handful of manufactured products. I happen to have them all organized into a product group that's called manufactured products. But even if they weren't, if we were to just look at the base product group and then sub products, we will be able to see our stock modes listed here, and we could sort or we could filter that to find all of our manufactured products. So even if we've got the manufactured products sort of scattered throughout the product list, we can still get a succinct list of them here by doing something like that. Now there aren't many here in this database. All of our pastries and baked goods, we just buy them pre-made from our suppliers, but we do make this handful of sauces and our pickle slaw and some vanilla ice cream here in-house. Now, you're probably wondering why I'm telling you all of this. So something that I had mentioned in the last lesson, and I believe earlier in this one too, yes, I did mention it a few minutes ago, is that we have regular manufactured products, and we also have auto manufactured products, but we have not chatted too much yet about our auto manufactured products. So these auto manufactured products, they are products that are ingredient products of other manufactured products. They are sometimes referred to as nested manufactured products because they nest inside of another manufactured product. One of the key traits of these auto manufactured products is that if there is not enough stock on hand of the auto manufactured product, when the manufactured product that it's nested in is manufactured, the system will automatically manufacture the nested auto manufactured product. It does that for two reasons. One is so that we do not need to manually manufacture both. And secondly is to prevent ending up with negative stock quantities of the nested auto manufactured product. will probably be easier for me to just show you an example. So if I open up our burger sauce here, we can see that it is indeed configured as a manufactured product. That's the stock mode that we have set for it here. Now, if we look at the ingredients for this, we can see what goes into this burger sauce. In other words, the products that are going to have their quantities deducted and by how much for each of these batches of burger sauce that are manufactured. Actually, if I close that and we change our store settings here to the production kitchen and food warehouse, we should have some updated costs in there. There we go. So for each batch of this burger sauce that we make in the production kitchen and food warehouse, these are the quantities that go into that, and these are the costs that are associated with that. So for a 600 gram batch of this sauce, it's going to cost us $11.94, and we need 100 grams of bread and butter pickles. We can see the cost of those, 150 grams of Dijon mustard, half a batch of mayo, which we'll get into why that's set up that way in just a second, and 50 grams of chipotles in adobo. Now, I don't know if this is a real recipe. I think I made this up when I was building the product list in this database, and the same thing for the cost. I'm sure those are not entirely accurate there. But this should also serve as a friendly reminder that for non-stocked products, so not just for manufactured products, but also for non-stocked products, menu items, that we should always have their ingredient quantities set accurately so that when they're sold to customers, those ingredient amounts are deducted from stock and the quantities in the system will be updated, and the cost of the non-stock products will be accurate for reporting purposes. So if we think of not a manufactured sauce like this, but just a menu item, maybe a cheeseburger, we would want to have all of the ingredients and quantities set up correctly so that when that product is sold, all of that sort of flows through, updates quantities in the system, and that the costs are accurate when we go ahead and report on how many of those burgers were sold and what the cost of those sales were. That same idea applies for manufactured products, except that the ingredient quantities for these, as I mentioned earlier, are going to be deducted when the manufacturing process occurs, whereas for non-stock products, that happens when the product is sold. So just to recap, reiterate, non-stock products quantities are going to be deducted from stock when the product is sold. Manufactured products quantities, ingredient quantities are going to be deducted from stock when they are manufactured. But anyway, back to the auto-manufactured products, which I had mentioned a couple minutes ago, and then we got a bit off track there. One of the ingredients that are used to make this burger sauce is also a manufactured product that is made in-house. That is this mayo. So if I open that up, we can see that has been set up as auto-manufactured. That being the case, since it is also a manufactured product itself, it of course has its own ingredients. So this is everything that goes into a batch of our house-made mayonnaise. We've got a lemon, a couple of eggs, some Dijon mustard, and some sunflower oil, and we can see the quantities and the cost associated with that to make a 600 gram batch of mayonnaise. So while we can manufacture this mayonnaise on its own, and we do, if there's no quantity on hand for it and we go straight to manufacturing the burger sauce, the system will automatically manufacture the mayo at its base size to cover what we need in order to make the burger sauce. And then the mayo will have its quantity on hand deducted immediately to go into manufacturing the burger sauce here. Hopefully that highlights the difference and the uses of the two types of manufactured products that we can have, both auto and normal, and how they're configured. We'll get into a demo in a little bit, and then at the end we'll also go through some reporting so you can see how all of that sort of the workflow involved there and how all of that reports, and we can verify that all the correct things happen with as far as stock control and so forth. But for a few final points regarding some system configurations for manufacturing, let me just close this. If we would like to manufacture from SmartPaws, there are a couple additional things that we do need to take care of first. So if I head to our till function maps, And we'll look at this function override map here that we've got set up for No Hats, No Stars main dining. We can see that we are using that for the production kitchen and food warehouse workstation here also. So by the way, I do have that assigned to the server workstation for this demo. In the real world, this could be assigned to a till that's actually in the production kitchen, which it is here. But for our example, when we run through the example in SmartPaws, we will be using this till. But just to give you an idea, we could certainly have a separate function override map that we've created specifically to put on a back of house workstation or something like that. In this case, it is one and the same. Now on the stock panel on this function override map, which you may remember from the last lesson when we used this stock loss function, I've also now added this manufacture products function here. So of course you can place this till function wherever you need it in your database, but it does need to be available somewhere on SmartPaws from a function override map in order to manufacture products from SmartPaws. It is also a good idea, best practice, to have a product search function nearby, which we do, so that we can manually search for any products that are going to be manufactured. But an alternate solution, one that may take a bit more time to set up, but would save some time when actually manufacturing at the till, is to configure a product key map to include buttons for the products that are going to be manufactured. So what I've done in our database here is I have simply added a button to our food key map here, and it is just set up for the manufactured products product group. So if we go ahead and open that, we can see that's just been selected there. Very simple. This way, staff will not need to use the product search function and search through the list. At the workstation, they can just quickly enter a quantity and then select what they are manufacturing. Of course, as always, your database is going to be different. This works here because I do have this product group configured with all of the manufactured products in it. If your manufactured products are scattered throughout different product groups, you could create a key list for them as another option, or you could even have an entirely separate product key map created with separate buttons for each manufactured product. So plenty of options that we have. This is just the option that I have gone with here to keep things a bit streamlined and simple for us. But anyway, we will take a look at this in action when we get to a SmartPaws demo in just a few minutes. For now, we will check out a back office demo. Now, we did of course run through a short demo in the internal stock movements lesson last time, and from that session, you probably remember that to begin the manufacturing process from back office, we start with the stock control menu where we have manufacturing. You may also remember that we have two options depending on if we want to hand select each product to manufacture individually, or if we want to begin with the store's entire list of manufactured products using the all option. We will do both today, or at least we'll take a look at both today, but we will start with the all manufacturing option, which we did not see last time. We are then going to be prompted to select the store that we're going to manufacture products for. Since the system is going to automatically add all of the manufactured products in that store to the manufacturer list, so I will go with our production kitchen and food warehouse, of course. And as you can see, the manufacturing list is compiled just like that. All 6 manufactured and auto-manufactured products in the store have been added. Now obviously there's some pros and cons depending on how things are configured and how an organization wants their manufacturing process to go. So if we imagine that rather than having only 6 products here, we did make, let's say, all of our pastries and baked items and desserts and everything else in-house, and this list was maybe a couple hundred products long for our production kitchen. Now in some cases like that, we may want the entire list to begin with, to propagate an entire list to start off with, and then we can manually delete anything that's not being manufactured at the moment. But in other cases, especially if there is a fair amount of nested auto-manufactured products that are going to be automatically manufactured when their base products are manufactured anyway, maybe we would not want to use the all manufacture option, because the auto manufactured products wouldn't need to be manufactured using this process unless we did want to manufacture them independently of any manufactured products that they belong to. For example, maybe we don't need to manufacture any mayo today, but we will need to manufacture our burger sauce, which we know uses mayo as an ingredient. So we can remove the mayo from the list. We can only manufacture the burger sauce and of course whatever else we need to manufacture. And the mayo that's then needed as the ingredient portion of the burger sauce will be automatically included anyway. The system will manufacture the mayo that we need for this burger sauce if there isn't enough on hand. Obviously, if there's enough of that mayo auto-manufactured product already on hand in the system will use that to manufacture the burger sauce. But if there is not enough quantity on hand of the mayo when we manufacture the burger sauce, the system will manufacture it, and then the system will use it in the manufacturing of the burger sauce. That sounds a bit confusing when we look at some reports later on. After we process some manufacturing, you'll be able to see how all of that looks. But yeah, anyway, back to the all manufacturing here. Conversely, if there are not many auto-manufactured products and or there's not a huge list of manufactured products overall, the all manufacturing option is a very good viable choice to go with. So maybe if our whole manufacturing list is just this handful of products here and there's maybe no auto manufactured products at all, might be just simpler to come in to the stock control menu, do manufacturing, all manufacturing, select the store, and then go ahead and enter our quantities here. Now before we go back and do a blank example, I do just want to point out a few things here. A couple reminders from last time is that we can see each product's item volume here. Now that is going to be based on their configured base sizes. So if there's an instance where maybe we have a similar product in the database but with different base sizes, so maybe we sometimes manufacture ice cream in 1 kilogram batches in addition to these 5 kilogram ones, we could have that product built into the database too, and it could still say maybe we'd have different names for them, but maybe we wouldn't. Maybe they're both just named vanilla ice cream batch, but then one of them has an item volume, a base size of 5 kilograms, and one has 1 kilogram. Having the item volume shown here is going to allow us to differentiate between the two as long as the base sizes are configured accordingly. Also, if you remember from last time, we can see the current quantities on hand for each product in the store that we've selected to manufacture for. Now obviously those are theoretical quantities, but we're assuming that they've been checked and confirmed, and let's say that we had 2 batches of pickle slaw here that were, I guess, manufactured maybe yesterday or the day before, and we've come in today and we have checked those, and maybe one of those needs to be spoiled. Could obviously spoil that from SmartPaws, and then when we come back and check this in back office, this would show just one batch being on hand. We then refer to our prep sheet for the day, see how much pickle slaw we need to make, and go ahead and manufacture that. So again, these are going to be theoretical quantities, but we're assuming that they've been checked and confirmed. We could then compare our on-hand quantities here to our prep sheet for the day, and we determine the quantities that we do need to manufacture. So speaking of, last refresher, we would then enter the quantities that we need to manufacture into this manufacture quantity column at the end, which is editable, or this list is going to be editable by default. So we can just enter those quantities in here. That is the only column that we can edit. If we try to click into these other ones, we cannot, but this column here, manufacture quantity, is editable, so we can enter those, and we can exit edit mode there if we'd like to, lock that, and then we can go back into edit mode if we need to. Now, I am not going to manufacture this list right now. I just wanted to show you the workflow involved for the all manufacturing option, and just mention some of the pros and cons for using this option. But we will actually close this, and we will go with a blank manufacturing example real quick. So as with the all option, there are pros and cons to going the blank route here that we're now doing. If we were just manufacturing one or maybe a handful of products, it might be the better option to use. And I'll just reiterate that if there are nested manufactured products that have been set up correctly as auto manufactured, they do not need to be added to the manufacturer list separately, unless of course that we do need to manufacture them separately. So maybe we do need some regular mayo manufactured for the day that's going to be used on its own. We could manufacture that separately. But anyway, what I will do here is I will add our burger sauce that we were looking at earlier. Oh, need to select the store first, of course. So I'll select that burger sauce that we were looking at, and we will see how that works with the auto-manufactured mayo in its ingredients list. So we've got 3 batches on hand here. Let's say that we checked our prep sheet for the day, and we need 5 altogether. So we're going to go ahead and add 2 of those. And I won't make anything else here. That's all we are manufacturing right now. So I'll just go ahead to the top and click manufacture. It's going to be a confirmation prompt just in case we were not ready. And then you might remember from last time that we can optionally print a copy of the manufacturing list, which can be extremely useful. So let's check that out. So this is something that can be printed out and then handed off to staff to use for reference, for example. By default, it is going to be in this by recipe view, and the ingredients list is going to be for the base manufactured products, or in this case, just the one base manufactured product that we're making here, and it's showing the quantity of each ingredient that's needed. But any nested auto-manufactured products that are ingredients of this base product are just going to be listed like this: mayo, 2 times 0.5 items. But we do have some options if we need a bit more detail. So if we change the view to by base ingredients, that is going to show us an expanded list of ingredients, including the ingredients of any nested auto-manufactured products, but everything all together. So rather than showing the mayo as an ingredient here, we're able to see its ingredients instead, but they are all combined and intermingled with the ingredients of the burger sauce. Now that might be confusing to someone who hasn't made the burger sauce before and doesn't realize that they need to make the mayo by itself first. So for some products, this view might be a bit unclear with what's what. So alternatively, we have a different view called by sub-recipes. Now that is going to break down any nested manufactured products into separate recipe lists. So this is very, very useful. Now not only can we see the overall recipe for the burger sauce itself, but we can see the nested auto-manufactured mayo product that goes into it and its individual recipe, including quantities for it here, and then we can see how much of that needs to get used to make the burger sauce in this example. Now if we don't need any of that, maybe we've got a chef in today that has these recipes committed to memory here, we can choose to hide the ingredients, and then we just have a list of the base products themselves listed out. So if we imagine that we have maybe a couple dozen products that we need to manufacture, that might be a better option to print out for culinary staff who does not need to show all the ingredients, but I will show them, and let's go ahead and print that and see what that would look like. Cool, so there we go. Hopefully you can imagine how helpful this could be out in the real world to then just take this printout and hand it over to the culinary staff so they can get started with, in this case, prepping our burger sauce. They'll know the exact quantities of everything that they need. They'll be able to see that they need to manufacture this mayo and the ingredients for that, and then how much of that needs to get used and put into the burger sauce here. All right, what we'll do now is we will switch over to SmartPaws. By the way, we have successfully completed this manufacturing process for the burger sauce now, so those quantities will be updated in the system. We'll take a look at some reporting in back office after we run through a quick demo in SmartPaws now. Alright, now I don't know what proportion of organizations would manufacture from SmartPaws versus from back office, but it is nice to have both options available. and so we will be going through both options, demos of both options in this lesson. Again, as long as we've got at least a product search function and a manufacturing function available, we can manufacture products from a SmartPaws workstation, whether it is in front of house or back of house. So something back of house like our production kitchen in our database here in No Hats, No Stars, or if it's front of house, maybe a deli making some sandwiches and salads and so forth that they are just making out in the deli and then putting into a grab-and-go case, and they've got a till out there that they can manufacture products from. But yeah, for our demo here, even though I am using the workstation for the main restaurant, we can pretend that it is our back of house workstation in the production kitchen. And as I showed earlier, here on the food key map, I've got this manufactured products button added so that we can add products to the manufacture without having to search the product list. So let's say that we do need to manufacture maybe a couple batches of vanilla ice cream. We would just enter the quantity first and then select the product from the key map. We don't need to worry about price, obviously. If we were manufacturing, so that's been added to the transaction now. If we were manufacturing anything else with it, we could add that too, but we'll just stick with this. Then we just need to navigate to the manufacture function, wherever it is. Again, here I've got it on the stock panel, this one that's labeled product in stock, and we've got that here, manufactured products. As we've come to expect for processes like this, we will encounter a little confirmation prompt here, and we can enter a description, which is nice. So maybe this is just daily prep, or if the products are being manufactured for a specific event or something like that, we could enter some information about that. That is then going to print out for us. So it's going to print a transaction receipt, which is going to show the manufacturer transaction. We might want to use that for record keeping or to include with the physical products themselves as a note or something like that. But it is as simple as that to manufacture from SmartPaws. Now, obviously, the quantities to be adjusted. In this case, the ice cream having its quantity on hand increased and its ingredient products being decremented or decreased will happen for the workstation store. So again, real world, we would be using the workstation for the production kitchen, but for our demo here, I've just used the one that's in the main restaurant. So when we head to back office now to look at reporting for these, the ice cream will have been manufactured in the main restaurant. The burger sauce, which we manufactured a couple minutes ago in back office, will have been manufactured in the production kitchen. But let's take a look. Okay, so where can we turn to for some reporting on the manufacturing of products? You may recall from the internal stock movements lesson that we looked at the stock journal for some reporting on most of the internal stock events that we looked at in that lesson. So to recap and to look a bit further into that, especially since we're dealing with the auto-manufactured products today, which report a bit differently, we will want to filter our options down to just manufacturing. Although for the auto-manufactured, we will want sales on, but I'll leave that off for now, and you'll see why in just a minute. For now, I will just display that with just looking at manufacturers. So now you know from previous lessons, obviously, that we can create and edit different views, but the standard view for the stock journal does have some very useful information out of the box, which you may recall. First off, each time a product is manufactured, and by the way, we can see the adjust type here shows as manufacture, but for each one, it will have the date and time, the operator name, the store name, so we can see the ones that we did manufacture from the production kitchen and the ice cream here that we manufactured from the main restaurant. We can also see, if I scroll over, we can see the quantities that we had on hand to start, the quantities that were adjusted, so in this case positive quantities because we've added to the quantities for those when they were manufactured, of course, and then we can see the ending quantities. We can also see the starting, adjusted, and ending costs, and we can see descriptions for those. So for the back office ones, we can see the ones that were back office stock manufacturer, auto stock manufacturer, and we can also see the one from SmartPaws where we entered the description of daily prep. Now you might have noticed that right now this is only including the creation of these products, which is evidenced by the positive quantity adjustments, since we are, after all, only looking at the manufacture adjust type right now. However, if we do include sales and we refresh the report, you can see that that has added a few things, even though we haven't sold anything from SmartPaws today. Now we will be able to see, so even though these do have an adjust type of sales, we know that they weren't sales. If we come over, scroll over to the quantity adjustments here, we can see the decrements of each ingredient that was used to manufacture the products that we manufactured. Oh, I did have a sale in here today. I forgot that I did that earlier this afternoon. I did a test sale of a martini here. That's why we've got some gin and some vermouth and olives that were sold there a couple hours ago. But if I scroll down, we focus just on our manufacturing events that we've done, we can see the decrements of each ingredient that was used to manufacture our products that we manufactured. We can also see the immediate decrement of the auto-manufactured products after they were created. So for example, if I'll just sort this so we can see our couple instances of mayo here. So we can see that at 2:37:48 p.m. we have a manufacturer adjust type that occurred for our mayo. Now we started with 0 on hand, we created one, we then had one. At that same exact time, we then have another adjust type that occurs, which is a sale in the system, and I'll explain why in a minute. And our starting quantity on hand for that is 1 because we've just manufactured that. And then that's immediately decremented because that quantity is then used for the burger sauce, which, if you remember, is what we actually manufactured from back office. That is why if we look at the description for this, we can see that it is shown as back office auto stock manufacturer. The system auto manufactured that, even though we did not add mayonnaise to the manufacturer list, the system auto manufactured that for us because we needed it for the burger sauce. And then the description for this is that it was back office stock manufacturer. We had its quantity decremented to be used for the burger sauce. So the system has auto manufactured what we needed for the burger sauce and then immediately used it as an ingredient of the burger sauce. And of course, for the other ingredient products that are not nested manufactured products, they will still have their decrements as well, which we can see for the Dijon mustard and the chipotles and everything else that went into the burger sauce, which is why the individual ingredients for those are listed out with negative quantity adjustments for them, and also for the mayo itself. So when the system auto manufactured that mayo, it also decremented the quantities of products that are ingredients of that. So the eggs, the lemon, sunflower oil, so on and so forth, that went into that mayo. And by the way, yes, the adjust type for the decrementing of these products that are used in manufacturing is listed as sales. So even though they were not technically sold, and if we were to look at any sales reports, we wouldn't see anything there. But for stock movement purposes, so this is a stock report after all, they are essentially considered to be sold internally so that their quantities are going to be adjusted correctly. Now, similar to all of that, we can also check out a different stock report, our stock summaries. And if we go to the standard view for that and we show product totals, while we are not seeing products as manufactured here, what it does show is that when those products are processed as manufactured, we've essentially received stock for them. If we look at the burger sauce here, for example, each one will have a cost X received and a quantity received. If I scroll over, actually let me pin that down so that when I scroll we can still see that there. But for the burger sauce, we can see that 2 were received, and we can see, as I said, the cost X received for that also. Auto manufactured products will show the same, but also will have cost X stock sold and a quantity stock sold. So if we find our mayo, we can see here that it does have cost X received for when the system created that. It then also has a cost X stock sold for when that was used. And the same thing for quantities. We can see what was received into the system and then what was sold. Again, that was just used internally. So again, since via the auto manufacture process, the stock was used internally as soon as it was created, received in this case, as it's worded. That reports like that for us for stock control purposes. And for raw ingredient products that are simply used in the manufacturing process that would have had their stock on hand already, we can see their cost X stock sold and the quantity stock sold too, since that stock has been decremented and converted to the manufactured products. So for example, if we look at the Chipotles and the Dijon mustard, we can see that they have cost X stock sold and a quantity stock sold also, since they were used in the manufacturing process. So there we go, we've got both the stock journal and the stock summaries report that allow us to view and analyze stock movements when products have been manufactured. We can see everything that has gone into the manufacturing process and everything that's come out of the manufacturing process. Alright, so with that, we will wrap up not only this lesson, but also our stock control lessons for this course. Thanks as always for watching, and we'll see you for the next one.